At 14,000 feet in the Indian Trans-Himalaya, the air is severely hypoxic, and the terrain is stripped of almost all liquid moisture. Surviving in Pin Valley requires biology to push itself to the absolute edge. Take the region's apex predator. To hunt in a landscape with virtually no vegetative cover, the snow leopard relies entirely on the geometry of the mountains, using steep, jagged rock faces to hide its approach. When winter snowpack forces wild sheep lower, the cat launches itself down sheer, icy cliffs at high speed, initiating a chaotic vertical pursuit. This violent, high-stakes physical exertion is the result of millions of years of extreme high-altitude adaptation. But by deep winter, the caloric deficit in the valley becomes so severe that these cats are forced to do something completely counterintuitive to their biology. They begin eating shrubs. Specifically, they forage for the harsh twigs and stems of Myricaria bushes. This data visualization maps DNA results from snow leopard scat during winter. It shows a distinct negative correlation between animal prey DNA and plant matter, meaning these obligate carnivores deliberately consume twigs when their digestive tracts are completely empty, surviving entirely on plants. When an apex predator is reduced to eating shrubs to survive a seasonal bottleneck, it reveals the narrow biological margins of the cold desert, margins that dictate the survival of every horse, plant, and healer in the valley. Down on the valley floor, we find another marvel of extreme biological engineering, the Chamurthi horse. This is one of India's few recognized indigenous equine breeds, built explicitly to withstand lethal wind chill and sub-zero freezes completely without shelter. Its distinct barrel-shaped chest is a direct evolutionary response to the environment, allowing its lungs to expand and extract maximum oxygen from the severely rarefied mountain air. Even its movement is highly specialized. The Chamurthi utilizes a natural ambling gait, a specific biomechanical rhythm that allows it to navigate treacherous, icy cliff paths with minimal fatigue to both the animal and its rider. This breed is a perfectly calibrated biological machine, inseparable from the steep geography it navigates. For generations, the human communities living in the park's buffer zone had to survive under these exact same conditions, entirely isolated from modern medical infrastructure. Their survival relied on Soa Rigpa, an ancient Tibetan medical system practiced by local healers called Amchis. Because the high UV radiation and hyper-arid atmosphere of the Trans-Himalaya constantly stress the local flora, these plants produce incredibly dense secondary metabolites, chemical compounds generated as a biological defense mechanism. The Amchi healers harvest these hyperpotent botanical compounds to treat severe ailments triggered by a lifetime of heavy labor in the cold desert, targeting high rates of liver hepatitis and chronic osteoarthritis. Without this exact, localized chain of uniquely adapted plant life, indigenous human settlement in Pin Valley would have been biologically impossible. The fatal flaw of extreme specialization is that it assumes the environment will never change. When foreign variables enter an isolated system, these hyper-adapted traits become immediate liabilities. During the brief summer thaw, agro-pastoralists now drive thousands of domestic sheep and goats into the alpine pastures, bringing them directly into the feeding territories of the wild Siberian Ibex. The danger here is microscopic. Domestic livestock carry complex gastrointestinal parasites and viral pathogens. The immunologically naive wild ibex have never encountered these diseases, creating an incredibly high risk for cross-transmission. If a virus jumps from a domestic goat to an ibex, an outbreak would rapidly decimate the herd. Without the ibex, the primary winter prey base disappears, triggering widespread starvation and population collapse among the snow leopards. A single pathogen carried by a domestic animal is enough to erase millions of years of apex predator evolution. The valley's medicinal plants face a similarly quiet crisis, caught between unregulated harvesting for the global black market and rapidly shifting climate parameters. As ambient summer temperatures rise, the narrow thermal band required by sensitive alpine flora is physically forced to migrate upward, a phenomenon called the escalator to extinction. The plants continuously lose habitable area until they simply run out of mountain. The loss of this flora is already breaking the local culture. With the plants disappearing and traditional livelihoods struggling to compete, the number of practicing Amchi healers has dropped 45%. Pin Valley operates as an isolated, living museum of Pleistocene ecology and ancient human heritage, but it is currently under severe siege. The survival of Pin Valley depends on protecting the invisible links, the medicinal wisdom of the Amchi and the epidemiological health of the wild ungulates. Securing this specialized web of life requires a strategy that integrates the human and biological landscape before these ancient connections vanish forever.